Hi, good evening. I'm Jill Alshouse. I'm happy to have you with me for this webinar. We're going to be focusing on high impact collaborative spaces. We're going to focus particularly on modern STEM and makerspace designs. This is my 23rd year in education. I'm a very passionate educator looking to change the world, and for me that comes through the vehicle of education. I am really passionate about being able to help campuses and districts be able to transform from teacher-driven classrooms to student-driven and student-empowered classrooms. I'm very active on Twitter, so you can see my handle there is @JillAlshouse. So I'd love to connect with you. Feel free to follow me and I'll follow you back. You can also see some great content and follow us at Meteor Education. At the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to see that there's a little button you can click on that says Q&A. So feel free throughout this webinar to raise your hand at any time if you have a question or a thought or an aha. There's two walkaways I've designed for you for this webinar. Number one is to be able to understand the research that supports the need for these collaborative, innovative spaces that can go within campus ecosystems or within classroom ecosystems. And I also want you to be able to walk away with various elements that are needed for the intentional design in relation to innovative spaces and student creativity. When we look at innovative spaces such as FabLabs or Makerspaces or Collaboratories like we see here, it's incredibly exciting to think about the opportunities we're giving our students in classrooms today. Some people may ask though, why invest in spaces like this? Why invest resources and time and money? Well, when we go back and look at what Education 2.0 did to help prepare us for the workforce, it did its job well. It was preparing us to go out into a workforce where we were working in rows, we were working autonomously, we were mass producing things. And so our classrooms were preparing us perfectly for that. But when we look at information and research that's out there with regards to our current workforce and future workforce, we see that our classroom ecosystems and our campus ecosystems, they need to shift as well. We see that students could have as many as 40 jobs in 10 different career paths. 65% of our students in elementary schools, particularly in primary grades, will ultimately end up working in completely new job types that don't even exist yet. And from Dell Technologies, we see that 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't even been invented yet. So we no longer want our classrooms to have our students sitting in desks and rows because that's not what the workforce looks like. For our students, if they want to go out and be a restaurateur, they may not be working in a traditional restaurant any longer. They may be creating their own food truck. And to be able to have a business of their own, they no longer need to hire someone to create their website. They can do it on their own. The military is no longer just a stand and sit and get environment. It's very collaborative. They think critically, they work together to be innovative, to design real world solutions to help you and I. So our classroom ecosystems have shifted to help prepare students for whatever future career endeavor they may have. There are certain skills we know that our students are going to need to be successful with whatever career path it is they choose to go down. Back in 2010, you may recognize this Newsweek cover that shone a light on the creativity crisis that our educational system was facing. And it talked about the demise of creativity that was being fostered in schools, in the classrooms, and talked about the need to go back and inject creative tasks, creative activities, creative solutions for our students to be designing while in classrooms. When we look at information that's come out of the West Economic Forum, it's interesting to see the skills that they predicted to be needed in 2015 and in 2020. And we see in the list for 2015 that creativity is number 10 out of the top 10. Complex problem solving is number 1. When we look at the skills that they predict will be needed for all humans in 2020, we'll see that creativity has jumped up dramatically. It's now number 3. And so I have to think that that's creating the trends we're seeing in education, such as FabLabs, Collaboratories, Makerspaces, Tinker Zones, where students can have their creativity fostered. We see the complex problem solving is still number one. And again, creative, innovative spaces like the ones we're talking about will also help foster that complex problem solving. An aha that I have when I take a look at this information is that emotional intelligence and cognitive flexibility aren't even listed in the 2015 list. But I think it's incredible when we look at the trends in education now, where we're seeing so many campuses and school districts focusing on social and emotional engagement. That feeds into our students being able and being strong in their emotional intelligence when they enter the workforce. And as we look at what students are going to possibly be doing with their lives when they graduate, bouncing around from job to job, career to career, they're going to need to be flexible in their cognitive abilities to be able to continue to be lifelong learners so they can stay at the forefront of any industry they choose to go into. When we look at future employment opportunities, such as nanomedics and the body part maker and the nostalgist, I'd be curious to find out how successful anyone would be in these employment opportunities without having creativity. I'm very thankful for the creativity of body part makers, as my 5-year-old niece was born with a rare muscular disease, and a very innovative, creative company nearby where they live reached out and created an exoskeleton for my niece. So I'm very thankful for the creativity of companies such as those. When we look at what else has been published in recent articles, such as this one from Newsweek, it talks about the maker movement reinventing education. It did a great job in highlighting the momentum that's building with maker movements all around the world and showcasing how students are able to tinker and create and get hands-on. When we take a look at an article that came out of Popular Science magazine back in 2016, these ladies did a great job of gathering data and creating a really cool graphic to show the incredible increase in maker spaces that are around the world. So it's incredible to look at the dramatic increase from 2006 to 2016 and see how many are active and planned in Europe and in North America and the rest of the world. If you are strategically thinking about having a hub of innovation that immediately speaks to all stakeholders as soon as they walk into your campus, this might be a great place to start. Because if you were to have a space such as a Makerspace or a FabLab or a Collaboratory, that's one of the first ecosystems that people see when they walk into a campus, I wonder what it would say. Here at Meteor, we always say that the environment is never neutral. It always speaks to people. And so for a student to be able to walk into a school and immediately see spaces such as the ones we see here on the screen, I wonder what it would say. I wonder if students would think, oh, we're going to do a lot of quiet reading in this school. Or if they would think, ooh, we're going to get to make things in this school. There are all types of maker spaces that are out there that you could consider for your own spaces. Whether you are fortunate enough to have a dedicated classroom to a maker space, such as that we see there on the left, or if you don't have a space like that, but you'd like for your classroom ecosystems to each have a dedicated wall or corner for a maker space or a tinker zone. Those are things to think about. Or if you don't even have the luxury of space within classrooms, you might think about a mobile maker space, such as this mobile innovation lab that's in the Baltimore County Public Schools. Or if you're thinking of just beginning to dip your toes into the makerspace movement, you might think about some mobile carts that could be moved around from classroom to classroom or checked out by grade level, that have lots of manipulatives and lots of toys for students to tinker with and manipulate and create with. No matter what space you choose to create, it will help a problem that we've been seeing within education for the last 10 years. When our students are now entering their junior and senior year of high school and they're being asked by their counselor, What is it you want to be? We find that a lot of our students, sadly, don't know what they want to be. They don't know what type of problems they want to solve. They haven't had that creativity and that passion fostered within them so that they know what it is they're passionate about and they want to do with their lives. That's why, again, I think we're seeing such trends as Genius Hour and passion projects all across the country, because it allows our students to look into passions that they have maybe had fostered at home, but then to really be able to have dedicated time and dedicated tools and dedicated resources to be able to create products and projects for their passion. Again, at Meteor, we always say the environment is never neutral. So when we look at an innovative makerspace like the one here on the screen, I wonder what this makerspace says to students when they walk into it. I wonder if students walk into this space and think, ooh, we're gonna make a lot of really cool things. Or I wonder if students walk in here and think, ooh, I bet we're gonna take a lot of tests in here. When we look at innovative spaces such as this FabLab, again, I have to wonder, what does this space say to students when they walk in? Does it say, ooh, I want to design something? Or do students say, I bet we're going to do a lot of listening to the teacher in this classroom? When we look at spaces such as this Collaboratory, I wonder what students think when they walk in. Do they think, ooh, I've always wanted to make a movie. I think I'll do that now. Or do you think students think, if this space says to them, let's go and let's read a lot of books quietly. When we think about what it is our students in our classrooms now, what engages them, it's really cool to think about all the research that's been done on millennials and Gen Z, which are the students sitting in our classrooms now. The William Morris Ad Agency has spent a lot of money on researching how to market to millennials. And what they have found is that millennials and Gen Z, they are Amazon orderers. They like very elegant, easy, one-touch systems. So I have to wonder, in your Makerspace or FabLab, do you have everything set up in an elegant system so that students can quickly go sign up to use the 3D printer, to quickly check out a Dash robot, to check out a Raspberry Pi to go play around with? How elegant are your systems? Our millennials and Gen Z students are socially conscious. So I wonder if they're allowed to design products and projects that feed into a campaign that they're socially aware of and passionate about. They're reliant on recommendations, particularly from their peers. So I wonder if you have spaces in your classrooms or in your makerspace zones where students can make recommendations such as, ooh, if you're looking to create a new design on your Raspberry Pi, check out this website because it has a great, easy DIY step-by-step how to do it. You could have monitors up around where students are able to record themselves and give recommendations to one another. Millennials and Gen Z, they want to be well informed. They'd like to be planners. So to be able to go into a makerspace or a FabLab and see all the products or tools that are available to them, they want to be able to look so they can plan out exactly what it is they plan to create. These students are browsers. They've had the internet their whole life, so they like to browse products a lot. So I have to wonder, how do you have all of the manipulatives laid out in your FabLab or your Makerspace? Is it so that students can see it and know what all the options are for themselves? They're multitaskers, they're tech savvy, right? They're digital natives. So they can be creating a claymation movie on the tabletop and have their cell phone in another hand doing some research. They're refreshingly frank, so they don't give a lot of fluff whenever they offer advice or opinions. And they like choices. They've had the internet. They can look at any kind of choice for any kind of thing, any time of day. So how do we market to them? Well, they like things to be interactive. So of course, a FabLab, a Makerspace, that instantly inspires the interactive abilities and tasks that can be created in spaces like that. They like multiple styles, so they like things to be able to create with music or art or with video or with With paper goods, they like multiple styles. They like honest advertising. So they want to hear exactly what it is that's expected of them. They want it to come honestly to them so that then they can figure out how they're going to make it happen. And they like things to be viral, fun, and clever, which is why I think we're seeing such trends in things like Breakout EDU, where it's very creative, it's very fun, where they can problem solve together, to be able to open each lock and go deeper and deeper into the boxes to get to the prize. And then what's even more fun is to allow the students then to work collaboratively to create their own Breakout EDU boxes. Some considerations you might think about when you are designing your Makerspace or FabLab. What are the goals for the Makerspace? Is it for students to be able to rotate through, like maybe it's on your special schedule? Or is it that it's an open space that you'll open before school starts and then close after school ends so that students can go in on their own? Is it that students can create digital pieces or cardboard pieces or recycled material? What does your school have already? Do you have a space for it? Do you have some furniture you could use within it? Do you have some technology devices you could use? How much physical space do you have? Do you have a dedicated classroom, a closet, spaces within classroom ecosystems that it could be housed? And how will it be used? How will the students use it? How will the teachers use it? Do you want it to be more of a teacher-directed space, or do you want it to be a free-flowing, student-driven space? And think about where you're going to get your supplies. I love this statistic that showcases how classroom ecosystems that mirror real-world collaboration are found to increase student learning by at least 20%. So of course, classroom ecosystems like FabLabs and Collaboratories, where teachers are setting students up to be able to collaborate, hopefully for real-world authentic projects and products, those of course are going to create incredible student learning because they're going to be going to deeper levels because they're passionate about it. When we look at a makerspace such as this innovative one here on the screen, it's important to think about the tools that will be used. So when we have devices, those are incredible resources and tools for our students to be able to use, but sometimes our students become isolated and siloed behind their device. So you might consider monitors on the wall or monitors at the end of a D-shaped table like these, so students can quickly project their the project that's on their device so that they can share with one another and get feedback and then go make edits to make it better. Another tool would be places for students to ideate quickly with each other or autonomously. So do you want dry erase boards on the walls? Do you want dry erase boards on tabletop, or do you want them to be small and portable? You might also think about spaces where students can pull tools such as flexible seating, where students can come together to collaborate quickly. When we look at a makerspace such as this one, it's important to think about flexibility because this one does a great job of fostering that. Because students who are working in creative spaces like this, they're all going to be at different places in the creative process at different times. So being able to allow for open spaces for students to be able to go to the back and do some research on their laptop and then go to a makerspace table and cut up some cardboard and some duct tape to build onto their dream roller coaster. Those are all things to keep in mind so that students can quickly and easily maneuver around the space. You might also consider having access to outdoor learning spaces. It's an incredible bonus if you're able to have that. So for example, if your campus is having a pumpkin chunkin challenge in October, let's say, and the students are creating their catapult within the makerspace, but having easy access to be able to get outside to practice with their catapult and make it better. It's also important to consider learning zones for your ecosystem. Thinking about social, emotional, and intellectual safety of our students is something to keep into consideration. So if students are creating a product or a project in a makerspace, and eventually they have to give a presentation to their class or to an authentic audience, that can be a very scary skill to have to master. But when you think about spaces like that one we see here in the bottom left, where students could sit in comfortable soft seating, and perhaps they feel comfortable with one friend presenting their presentation to get feedback, it's a great way to scaffold so that then they feel comfortable after that to maybe moving to a picnic table, to presenting to 2 or 3 or 4 of their friends to get feedback. It's a great way to scaffold in so that students feel intellectually safe with their knowledge and their presentation. Storage is a huge consideration to keep in mind for your makerspace. Whenever we have creative spaces like this, they tend to be very messy. And so we want things to be able to be stored so that students and teachers are able to quickly access and find tools. So thinking about the different things you want stored, if you want them stored together, things that fit within the same theme, or if you want each grade level to have their own storage cart, all things to think about, because you're going to need a lot of storage for creative spaces like these. Technology, of course, is huge in innovative spaces like this. And so this one was well designed with intentional technology support. So we can see that there are monitors around the room with tables and chairs underneath, so that students are able to quickly project up onto the screen their projects and products and get feedback, or be able to go quickly to any virtual field trip they'd like to, or be able to manipulate with virtual apps and websites online. If you're thinking of just beginning to dip your toe into the makerspace movement, you might think about some mobile storage solutions. So there are tons out there. Here are some examples of solutions we have, whether it's a small makerspace and you want it to have a pull down cover on it, or if you want it to be open so that students can quickly go in and grab different tools and things to tinker with. If you want to house robotics and all of the manipulatives that go with it, there are solutions for those. If you're wanting to find a place for tools, there's storage and cabinetry for all of that. If you're wanting to have a 3D printer be mobile and be able to be moved around from classroom to classroom, there are solutions for that. If you want to have lots of storage bins to be able to store lots and lots of tinker toys and Legos and things like that, there are solutions for that as well. Thank you for joining me for the webinar on modern STEM and makerspace designs. Some deliberate actions you might consider: being able to go around and informally assess the message that your current spaces send to your stakeholders. When they walk into spaces, what does that space say to them? Does it say this is a place of innovation, or does it say this is a place of quiet time where the teacher's going to be talking? If you found this webinar to be at all helpful, share it with a colleague and maybe just have some discussions about implications it may have for your campus or your district. If you'd like more information, feel free to go down to that Q&A box and type in your name and contact information, and I'll be happy to reach out to you. If you're also active on Twitter, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Jalal's House, or reach out to Meteor at Meteor Education. If you'd like to have a deeper conversation, feel free to contact Sebastian Sanchez. He'll put you in touch with your local learning environment specialist. And here on the screen, you can find his email address. Thank you for your time.